Like the intro says, this is the Great Pothos Race finale episode, and I can't believe it's been an entire year since myself and TechPlant started this little competition series to see who can grow the largest pothos on a plank over an entire year. It's actually been a little bit more than an entire year. We started this in November in 2023, and now we are nearing the end of November. To those that left comments asking what's going on with the pothos race, we did miss a few episodes, and I do apologize just with the busyness of life and work and all that kind of stuff. We just had some difficulty aligning some of our schedules and uploads and all that kind of stuff. So in this episode, I'm just going to show some updates with this plant. We'll kind of recap kind of throughout the year, and we'll show some pictures of our plants and obviously some videos throughout this video. So let's check it out. All right, here is the plant. I don't even know if it's entirely in frame here, but I just had a moment of absolute shock. I went to my computer to look up the last video and some footage of the, I guess the progress or the last update of this plant. And I realized the last upload date for this series was in June. So obviously it's been a number of months. I thought it was a couple months since our last episode or upload of this video series. So wow, that was an absolute shock. I can't believe how fast this, not only the summer, but how fast the fall has gone. And we're full into winter. We have a ton of snow outside already. So wow. Yeah, there is some pretty drastic growth. I will insert some footage of the last update from this plant so you can see obviously there has been a lot of change and a lot of growth in this plant. So I'm in absolute shock how much episodes we missed, so my apologies. Over the course of a year, we started the competition with a 3-leaf cutting, which we rooted in water through that entire process, and then we potted it up in soil and added it to the plank. So this is kind of what to expect over a year of growth. I will show some measurements here in a bit. It's had a couple pot up sizes as well. Overall, this plant has kind of exceeded my expectations. It's grown really, really well. Right from the start, it attached to the plank quite easily, and yeah, it's done very, very well. Now there's definitely some pros and cons to some of the things that I've done with this plant, one of them being the little IV bag. I thought it was going to be a great addition to the plank itself, but it kind of turned out to be a failure, and I'll talk about that. But one of the greatest things that I did achieve with this plant is when I've previously grown plants on planks, occasionally they tend to veer off to the side. Some of you had recommended that I add these little pins just along the side of the stem, just to kind of keep it aligned or a midline on the plank. And what I ended up coming up with is adding these little wood dowels here as well. So I would drill a hole on the plank, and I would use these dowels as a guide. Well, that kind of got out of hand as well. I mean the growth. It kept growing, and I just kind of forgot to pre-drill the holes. So I ended up reverting back to just using these pins, and it's done exceptionally well. It's remained in the middle of the plank. Now I know TechPlant did a slightly different method. He used kind of slits in the wood to kind of not only guide his plant, but he was trying to get these aerial roots to grow into the grooves and down into the soil. So that was quite a unique technique, I guess, and it seemed to prove or do very well for him. But one of my favorite things about growing plants on planks, specifically pothos, are these aerial roots. You can see it has these like thicker anchoring roots, and then it has these smaller little caterpillar feet type roots, and I absolutely love them. Now I'm just kind of looking at these ones down here. They are looking a little bulbous at the end, so I'm not sure if this is a feature that happens naturally. I don't know if it's storing water or what it is, but I've never noticed these kind of bulbous roots. So that's kind of interesting up here as well. It just looks like maybe a little water storage area, but there are a number of these large, thick roots, and then it has a bunch of these little caterpillar feet which secure it to the plank. And kind of the interesting thing as well is watching this grow, you can see the progression or the thickness from the stem. So it's quite thin down here. It's less than a thickness of, whoops, I just knocked off the pin, less, I don't even need that. It's less than the thickness of this pencil. And as we get higher, you can see just how thick and chunky, how beefy this stem is. So yeah, such a cool thing to observe when a plant grows is just the increasing size of not only the leaves, but of the stem. Okay, so now for a couple cons. Some things that really didn't work out, but in theory should have. The first one being is my little IV bag concept. What I did is I pre-drilled a hole on the plank. I filled this bag with some nutrient-rich water. It was basically just Dynagrow Foliage Pro fertilizer mixed in some water, but we ended up having some pretty significant algae issues, which it really shouldn't affect the overall growth of the plant or anything like that. But where it became kind of cumbersome was adjusting this flow rate. It was really difficult to achieve a steady flow down the plank and into the pot. You would set it, it would either go really, really slow, or it would like empty the entire bag in like 20 minutes. It was kind of, I would say, a disaster. Now I know Tech Plant had his own version of that with some actual medical supplies. And it looked like he had the same issue. This I bought off Amazon, and it's specifically made for plants. And I absolutely love this concept, and I had really, really high hopes for it. It was just going to provide a very small kind of trickling effect down the plant here, providing nutrient rich water, I guess, and hopefully that would have exploded the growth. Although it's done well, it's upsized pretty much with each new leaf. I did abandon this just because it was a lot of work trying to fiddle around with this IV bag. The other thing that didn't work out, and I had really high hopes for it, was this heat mat. I did kind of go into full panic mode when Tech Plant kind of gave some teaser pictures after he placed his plant in his little hyperbolic chamber. It held in humidity and more specifically heat. So heat definitely made the plant grow faster, as well as it did provide more variegation. So I really didn't have an area or a tent, a grow tent where I could put my plant in a hyperbolic chamber. So I really couldn't keep up with not only the growth, but the variegation as well. I was absolutely blown away just how vibrant his got just from higher consistent heat. So that was my idea with the heat mat, was to heat up the soil just so that it could provide some, I guess, warmth or some heat to the root system, in hopes that it would produce some or similar growth to Tech Plant. Clearly that didn't work. Now in my home here, the temperature is pretty consistent at 22 degrees. So without turning up my thermostat to, like 25, 26, which would absolutely just cook us in this house, that was the only way. And of course, my heating bill, it would have been astronomical. I resorted to this heat mat, and it really didn't produce the same results. So that's kind of where his plant took off, and mine just consistently sized up slightly, whereas his just kind of exploded with growth. So yeah, next time maybe we'll have to set a little more, I guess, parameters for our next competition. And that kind of leads me into I guess, announcing that we're trying to figure out a new competition. So if you have any suggestions or anything that you'd like to see for a next video series, we're probably not going to try for like monthly updates, but maybe once every 2 months or once every 3 months. That way we can keep it a little more consistent, and then there will be some, I guess, more drastic changes in between videos. So if you have any ideas of what you want to see for the next video series, leave it down in the comment section, send it to our Instagram, all that kind of stuff. I'm really curious to see the size and the height of Matt's plant after having it in that hyperbolic chamber. It was such a great concept, definitely, but like I said, I didn't have any room for that type of contraption in my setup here. So I do believe his has outperformed mine just in kind of these regular house conditions. But it was just a very fun video to take part in and just kind of swap back and forth the different techniques and methods and stuff. Okay, now for some measurements. I'm going to do the height of the plant first here. So I'm just going to be placing top of the tape measure on the soil and kind of reach the top here. It's about almost 41 inches. So this plant, what is that? About 3.5 feet, a little over 3 feet tall from the soil to the top of the plank. Now, for whatever reason, this leaf looks a little bit smaller than the one below it. Now, you may have noticed there's a yellow leaf here and it's missing a few. Now, this plant kind of throughout the summer as well as into the fall here, it's been kind of neglected at times. I did have a couple little thrips that chomped on some leaves here as well, but I did let this get dry on a couple of occasions, so this very well might have been from just letting it get too dry. I am going to be upsizing this at the end of the video as well. I'm going to be putting it in a new pot, and I'm going to look at the root system here as well. But I'm going to take a measurement of the largest leaf, so right from the top to here, 8 inches in length. And let's get an overall width at the widest. We're looking at 5 inches in width. But that is the measurements of my plant. I'm just kind of sneaking out of my little area here. I got tons of plants. But yeah, it is about, well, it's over 3 feet tall, and it's pretty much reached the top of the plank. So I have to get a plank extension. So that's pretty much the update with this plant over the last year or so. I do appreciate everyone not only watching the video series on both our channels, but leaving comments, and just the interaction between both channels has been really, really fun. And I can't wait till we announce the next video series. I don't know what the root system looks like. I haven't taken it out of the pot, but it's going to be going into a much larger terracotta pot. And like I said, I'll be continuing to grow this and be providing updates on my channel. So let's take it out of the pot and see what the root system is looking like after an entire year. Now I'm going to try and keep the entire root ball intact, and then I can just stick it right in this pot here. I'm going to add a little bit of the VeryPlants aeroid mix into this pot here, but I just want to take this out of the pot just to have a peek at the roots. So I'm just going to try and loosen it up as best as I can. I have no idea what to expect from these roots, to be honest. I like using the butter knife because it tends to easily get around the edges, and sometimes when you have a plant in a terracotta pot, the roots like to stick to the side of the pot. So I'm just gonna pull up a little bit on this side and this side. Normally, like, I could feel kind of crunching roots, but I don't feel it on this, so I'm hoping everything just pops out like that. And interesting, super interesting. I'm just looking around. Okay, well, right there, we have a lot of roots, and I was kind of expecting maybe a little bit of root rot. I'm just trying to remember the last time I repotted this. It doesn't look like it's really extended much from the original pot. Like, I had it in a very small pot, and then I potted it up in this one. So that's actually really interesting to see that it didn't fully consume the pot over the year. I'm still going to upsize it in this one just because I've already taken it out of the pot, but I was expecting to see like a full pot of roots just because of how much it's actually grown over the last few months. And I think I upsized this in the last video, so that was probably about 5 months ago. I'm very, very surprised there isn't a larger root system. I'm just digging out this little pin here so I don't poke myself. Okay, so I'm gonna add a little bit of soil into the bottom of the pot and then pack it down, I guess. Okay, well, again, kind of another little shocker in this video. I'm just gonna have to hold this with one hand, and I'm just gonna actually see if I can pour a little bit of soil into the pot. I just wanna have like a little base layer, I guess. I'm just gonna cover the drain hole with a little piece of wood. I'm just going to dump some in here. Oh, probably too much. Too much. I'm going to take some of that out. And then that way I can... I'm going to rest, again, the plank at the back of the pot. And like I say in a lot of my videos, is I like to kind of lean it backwards just slightly so it's not completely straight or vertical. Because over time, obviously the weight of the plant will cause the plank to fall forward. So I'm just going to kind of angle that backwards, and I'm just going to take some big scoops and then pack it down and place some at the side here as well. Where's my pencil? What am I doing? So it's staying okay, but it's definitely a little floppy. I'm not going to give this one any water as well, just because I did water this, I think it was yesterday actually, in preparation for this video. Okay, so there we go. Oh, it's a little crooked. Should have known better. And packing it down nice like that. Okay, it's in its fresh new soil. It's in its new pot. There's pretty much nothing else I'm going to be doing for this plant in this video. But like I said, I will continue to provide updates for this plant down the road, just so we can continue the growth and the upsizing of the leaves as it grows up this plank. And like I said, make sure you go over to Matt's channel and check out his update video. I'm really excited to see his finale video here as well. Again, I appreciate all the support for this series and as well as with my channel overall. So if you have any comments or questions, please leave it down in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye.